Alright, another video response to not smiling Joe. Anyway, Andy, whatever. So this time he's basically trying to, well, he's already said the past is irrelevant, that anything that happened in the past is not existent, it's gone, it's irrelevant to our reality. He hasn't directly said that it's not even valuable as a learning experience, but who knows how far he'll take it. I mean, it seems pretty clear how far he'll take it. So anyway, what's he's doing this time? Okay, so the first half of the video he talks about the Indians, the North American Indians, and the Holocaust essentially that was committed, and you know, how he's not accountable for any of that stuff. He didn't do it, and he's, you know, he doesn't want to be blighted with any sense of obligation to some way maybe make up for that, do something positive enough to justify the suffering that was maybe incurred by these people. Something logical like that is not occurring to him. He's just basically saying, you know, it's like even if your father did something horrible, you might feel an obligation as the son to make up for that crime, to do something to fix it, to do a good of such magnitude that it would compensate for the negative, just to preserve your reputation, your lineage. And you know, it seems logical to me that people should have some sense of, you know, a little bit of humility, a little bit of a sense of obligation, certainly to prevent any kind of future crime like that, but you know, theft like that. But there isn't any, obviously. You know, what we're doing in the Middle East isn't much better. And that this is what these people represent. This is the world they create. The rose bushes and the Gobatas and the rest of these assholes who applaud this. He calls this the best video in the series so far. Basically, a video saying, "I don't want to hear about responsibility." So I guess we'll title this one Eka whatever versus responsibility, because he doesn't want to hear of it. So let's play it.
Causing endless suffering from here until eternity. I'm reminded of those, you know, science fiction episodes in the various series that come around of somebody who goes back in time and swats a fly that wasn't supposed to have been swatted, and as a result of doing that, they return to the present day, and the present that they left behind before they went back to the past has become this hellish utopian nightmare. The possibilities of messing things up through time travel are pretty well explored in science fiction. But to me, that kind of guilt, that kind of
well, there isn't such any kind of, right? So what we have is responsibility for the future, all right? And no one's arguing about your butterfly effect. No one's arguing about the effects you have through accidents, okay, through inadvertency. We're talking about your explicit acts, your deliberate, willful acts, the acts you thought about and said, "I don't give a fuck." Those are the actions we're talking about here. Natalism is not something you accidentally perform, all right, unless you're really, really ignorant. I don't think you're claiming that. So this is about a deliberate, willful, thoughtful, planned action, okay? That should be under a little bit more scrutiny than, you know, what? Yeah, okay, you stepped on a cockroach, and that would have been the magic cockroach that was going to teach all the other cockroaches how to be, you know, master brilliant cockroaches, and the brilliant cockroaches never took over the plant because you stepped on the master, you know, the critical cockroach that would have created the perfect cockroach society. Yeah, we're not talking about that, stupid. And this is stupid.
Unpayable debt, and an unpayable debt even to people that have never been born yet, is nothing short of insane.
Right, whatever. Yeah, if you're going to put it in this kind of crazy talk about like you'd have to control every action. That's not what the conversation's about. The conversation is about these simple choices you make, whether you're going to pollute the future, whether you're going to be irresponsible to the future, or whether you're going to be responsible to the knowledge you have that the future will exist, that it will need Social Security, that it will need this, you know this shit. All right, you don't burn the hospitals down today because you're done using them. All right, you know little simple logical things, and that's what's being under scrutiny here. And again, you don't want even accountability for that. You don't want accountability for your deliberate, willful, selfish motherfucking taking. You pick the goddamn pocket and then you sit there and say, butterfly effect. What a crock of shit.
And it reminds me very much of the guilt that was always inflicted on us in Catholic school. Yes, the present is a time.
I didn't go to Catholic school. I don't know what you're talking about, this guilt crap. Okay, there's responsibility. If you don't have a sense of it, if you don't have any kind of respect for the price paid for what you get, if you don't have any respect for the coal miners who work to produce your energy, or you don't have any respect for the sacrifices people make, well, no one's obligating you to, but to make a philosophy out of a lack of respect for what others have paid for your fucking comfort, that's fucking disgusting, okay? You're a deplorable and disgusting human being. You can't even take on that much responsibility for anything. You're that irresponsible. You're that much of a selfish prick. And these assholes celebrate you. These 20 fuckers celebrate your celebration of your assholery, your irresponsibility, your willful neglect. Willful.
A little thing. I am a tiny little individual, and I'm being asked to feel guilty about every sin that has ever taken place since Adam bit into that apple, and I'll probably be responsible for every sin that...
Oh, well, come on. There's no accountability. You're not going to recognize that there is a distinction between a Martin Luther King and yes, that anybody, if they can, they should. That's even too much to say. I mean, like I said, go ahead and say you're not willing. Go ahead and say that. But don't advocate that as a philosophy. Don't say you're being the heroic one when you're not. All right? You're being the soldier that's saying, I don't want to be the lead guy. I'll just follow along in the back, okay? Because I don't want to get shot. Well, don't make that into something heroic. Don't make it into something to be admired. All right, you want to sit back and just take. Well, then just call yourself what you are, a sit-backer and a taker. All right, but don't make it into fucking goddamn philosophy. Don't make it into something you'd encourage in other people. Because then nobody does what needs to be done. You're not inspiring people to be better. You're just sitting there saying, being an asshole like me. Just rub your own nuts. Fuck you. You just so fucking suck.
Ever takes place between my miserable existence and the rest of time, because time is, as they say, so much more large than the future is so much bigger than the present. Now,
yeah, well, I don't know why you can't understand that when it comes to the Benatar argument, because that's the argument he's making, you stupid fuck.
This is a shell game being played, again, with the intent of making sure that each of us who's alive right now feels the maximum amount of culpability for all.
Oh, this is just such a pile of crap. Where's the maximum amount of responsibility? People are saying if you're going to create life, a rather substantial event, some have analogized it to taking life, that it should be as morally a gravitatus decision. And you're saying that's an imposition on you. That's too much of an imposition. I shouldn't have to even think about creating life. It shouldn't even be something, I shouldn't be bothered by contemplating the implications of my action. I mean, what the fuck is that?
All the ills of history, of whatever history there ever was and whatever history there ever was.
Yeah, well, you'd have to prove where somebody is beating you over the head with that one. Go ahead and prove it somewhere. All right? I mean, that we should mention it once in a while. How often is the past mentioned? How often is the Crusades mentioned, or all the other horrors of the past? How often is it mentioned, how much has been paid, the price that's been paid, and that we should have a little bit of fucking respect for that? I mean, we have a Memorial Day, and what we do on it, we have barbecues and get drunk. I mean, get real, you fucking asshole.
Will be. It results to a burden of guilt that is simply insupportable for anyone. So the best thing that we can actually do is to just feel horrible about ourselves forever. that kind of thinking actually does take.
Yeah, whatever. Who, where? Show me the thinking like that. Show me where that exists. Show me this fucking real grief, this real pain. Show me it, you stupid cunt. This is such a lie. I mean, what a fucking straw man. Fear being a human of great integrity, because look how they suffer, the integral humans. No one's doing honor to any of that stuff. And the few of us who now and then mention it, who have at least enough of a ball to once in a while bring it up, we're not fucking heroes. I mean, damn, you people, you just suck so bad. There's no way to put a suck on you that's big enough. You are the suck. Suck, suck, suck. Humans fucking suck, and you are its goddamn name.
Place in the depressed mind. And I think that anyone who actually looks at the antinatalist argument in terms of the individual, the living individual's culpability for all the hells that will ever follow, and even accepts the fact that even as we exist,
I mean, really, it's just so fucking complicated, right? I mean, anybody who sits there and says, well, look, we know statistically that drunk driving leads to a certain incidence of, higher incidence of accidents, and we shouldn't take any responsibility for that. No, don't take responsibility. Run away from responsibility because you want the convenience. I mean, geez, you just suck. It's part of the game. If you're going to play the fucking game, if you're going to sit there and roll those fucking dice, you ought to have at least the decency to acknowledge that you're imposing and that there is a responsibility. You're not going to do anything about it. The debt will never get paid, but at least admit what you're doing. God, you weasels.
Now we are benefiting from hellish crimes that took place in the past, is simply abusing the normal concept of a healthy conscience in order to over.
Again, this got 20 likes. He's basically said that your healthy conscience shouldn't even fucking exist. That you shouldn't have any sense of responsibility to any price paid for any comfort you enjoy. You should just enjoy it. Period. Period. You should never think about the price that has to be paid to have what you have, ever. Because that's too big a burden. Fuck.
Value the crimes that actually do take place and overstate their value in terms of all the nice things that take place in this continuum that we call human existence.
Well, again, we're back to the basic argument, right? And like Professor Anton and the rest of them, if you start listing all your little sunsets and your other mishmash, I mean, compared to the horrors on this planet, it is just that. It's mush. It's fucking trivial goddamn mush, and you goddamn know it. You're just selling. You're selling a badly, not only a dangerous used car, and you're just selling. You're selling. You're selling. You're selling. You're selling. That's all you're doing. You don't give a fuck what the fucking consequence of that'll be, which is wasted suffering. Fuck you for that. Fuck you for that.
If I'm going to get blamed for all the bad things, okay, I'll accept my share of the blame. As I said, I'm not trying to, even though I wasn't even there when the native people were thrown off their land, I understand that I do bear a share of the guilt. But having said that, I wasn't there when all kinds of nice things took place, which don't really tend to get into the history books because they're boring. So I want to be thanked for all the good things that have ever happened as well, if I'm going to be held accountable for all the bad things that ever happened.
Well, this is just such convoluted logic. No one's holding you accountable for the bad things. They're saying just have some respect for them. So, I don't really understand how the good things of history, like somehow you have to atone to that, or that you should get credit for that. How does that even make any sense? And what would the good things be? You mean discovering a something in the world? You mean like inventions? Like you should get credit for Edison or something? What's your fucking argument here? That doesn't make any fucking sense.
If I'm in my miserable little present here going to be held accountable for every bad thing that I ever do as it gets multiplied in violence and in harm effect throughout.
Again, this subject isn't about all the things that you do and all the things that have an implication. It's about one fucking thing, nataling, creating. You're a procreationist, and you should be able to take responsibility for that. It's a hell of a thing to be doing, imposing life. It's a hell of a consequential act. It's a cause and effect act. It's pretty overt. Okay, you can't get more in somebody's face than to shove their face out of a vagina. You really can't. Alright? And you should take responsibility for that. If you're going to sit there and get in somebody's face like that, okay, then you ought to take responsibility. You ought to be willing to.
The future, I want to take credit for all the good things that ever happened in the future as well, which come about as a result of a chain reaction that I'm...
Right, all the good things. What? Make your fucking list. Let me hear your speculative list of all the great things that are going to happen in the future. And, and then we'll make the list of all the bad things that are inevitably going to happen, which is the inevitable extermination of the entire human species anyway, through some sort of natural calamity. So yeah, let's add it all up and see if there's really anything there. See if there's any real accomplishment, and there isn't. What you're going to gain isn't going to be worth the pain.
Setting off now, even though I don't even know that I'm doing it. The whole...
Yeah, and you're doing it to things that don't get to say, leave me alone. That's another one of these critical points here. Is again, you're taking something else's welfare and rolling dice with it. Don't you think then you should be extra special careful? I mean, it's just as logical. Like if somebody lends you their car, aren't you a little more careful when you're driving someone else's car? I mean, it's just the logical thing to do. I mean, you can be sloppy in your own life, but when you're fucking with somebody other's person's junk, you're a little more careful, correct? Isn't that the sensible, decent, rational human behavior? Are you opposed to that also? Do you think we should just treat each other's property as the same way we would treat our own? So if we live a debaucherous, lazy, stupid, fat, slovenly life, we should impose that on somebody else? I mean, fuck you.
Shell game that does get played with time and with the pack.
Well, like I said, there's no shell game here. We're talking about overt, deliberate, thought-provoked actions, okay? These aren't accidents. These aren't, I couldn't help it. I didn't know it was going to happen. I didn't know what the consequences were. I didn't know what the risks were. This isn't some kind of ignorance you're sitting in where you can have the excuse of ignorance. So don't, what the fuck is this? Such a cop-out. I don't know what I'm doing. You do know what you're doing, shithead.
The present and the future in the antinatalist discourse, especially what I call the Benatarian discourse, is completely and utterly crazy.
Yeah, and your proof of that is what? Because it applies responsibility. It says that the things you make happen through your actions have implications on these other sentient creatures. Oh my God, that's a crazy theory. 20 likes for an asshole who doesn't think cause and effect exists and doesn't think that your actions impose on other people. Wow.
And again, if you try and make sense out of it and try and justify it and try and justify your own position in it, the only possible result is a moral blind alley that leads to nothing but a crushing...
Yeah, a moral blind alley. I mean, the alley couldn't be more explicitly described. He's showing you the past and he's showing you the future. There's no blindness in it. There's overt documentation of the potentials. And you're sitting there calling that blind. That's not blind. That's totally visible. And that's the part you don't want. You don't want to see it. You don't want to take responsibility for it. God damn it. You're just a fucking goddamn traitor who's running the other way from the truth. And calling it what? And atheists are applauding this crap.
Amount of guilt and depression.
Again, two irrelevancies. How much a proposed theory of truth should not be judged based on how much guilt and depression it causes. That's completely irrelevant in judging a theory of truth's truthfulness, its accuracy, its logic. So again, 20 likes for a guy who says we should judge truths based by how much comfort they give us. Well, I guess, atheist, then you can't keep arguing with the Christians who say their religion comforts them. I guess you have no argument with them anymore, right? This guy has made that clear for you. You have no argument. If it makes them happy, then it's a good philosophy. That's what this fuck shit is saying, you dumb bastards.
No, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. No fucking thank you to this form of goddamn religion. Be happy. Fuck thinking about what you're doing. Fuck taking responsibility for it, even when you know exactly what the risks are, when you know exactly what the potential consequences are. Pretend you don't understand. Pretend that I just flapped my butterfly wing and I didn't know I was causing a hurricane. Yeah, let's pretend. Asshole. Alright, anyway. So let's see if we can find some jackasses in the comments. Oh, there's Rose Bushy. Yeah, so there's the GABA guy. Best one of the series so far, Andy. So that's what you got to say, alright? So GABA guy, you're all for no responsibility. You're all for a comfortable philosophy. Because that's what he just advocated, just said is the way to go. It's grotesque misrepresentation of the butterfly effect, isn't it? A butterfly in my garden does or doesn't flap its wings, and centris pluribus, there is or isn't a hurricane in Asia a month later. What the butterfly effect does illustrate is how minor differences in the initial conditions of chaotic systems. So here again, having a baby is a chaotic system. You just don't know what to do. The choices are just too complicated. I can't figure out if I create a baby, will a living thing be created? I don't know. Will it possibly die? I don't know. Will it have a whole life history and potential things like diseases and alcoholism and syndromes? And will it get beaten by its husband, or will it be a wife beater? No, I can't know any of that. I can't figure out any of that stuff. It's chaotic. I'm afraid not. It's statistical fact, retard. In hugely different states when looking far enough down the line. Well, there won't be any hugely different state, okay? Your baby will die. It'll die of something someday. And it might curse your fucking ass that day, too. It might say, what the fuck was that retarded motherfucking cunt arrogant bastard thinking? I mean, if I could fucking spit on your grave, I certainly would. What the butterfly effect does not imply is that the butterfly should be held responsible for the hurricane. Well, again, so you're saying having a baby is just as erroneous a consequence as a butterfly causing a hurricane. That's what you're saying. That's how disconnected having a baby from creating a human being with cause and effect consequences is from your perception. You just can't understand it. Oh, amazing. Amazing. Oh, more Rose Bushy. Goody. There are some Antonists who try to point their philosophy as referring to here and now. To paint their philosophy as referring to here and now. Let's see where that logically leads. I don't even know what that means. Looking at everybody who currently alive, observe that it would have been better if they never had been. Even if you accept that conclusion, which I don't, at best this is wishful thinking and utterly pointless. Well, again, no one's arguing that. No one's arguing that you can undo our existence, that there's some back button that you could go to. But certainly if I could go back to the first living cell, we've talked about this in thought experiments, and squash the little fucker, I would squash the little fucker. I don't think the 4 billion years has been worth it. Okay, I don't think we have anything to show for it. American Idol isn't good enough for 4 billion years of little bots beating the shit out of each other and 500 million years doing it while they're saying ouch. I don't think the cicada wasp is worth it. Yeah. The proposal that beings are currently potential should not be actualized. The proposal that beings that are currently potential should not be actualized. Talking about fairies makes more sense. Right, okay, so there's obviously been a huge number of human beings that have not been actualized that could have been. Birth rates are down like 90% or more from our natural birth rates because of medicine and all this other stuff. So this is the whole pile of would have been humans if it wasn't for changes in behavior. 85% of the intelligent population on Earth isn't having enough babies to maintain human population. Now, why don't you deal with that? Why don't you call them fairies? Why don't you say that that's fairy thinking? The dumbest people, like yourself, the ignorant morons, are the ones that have kids. All right, it's precipitous, right on the old IQ scale. You can put nataling and IQ, and there's an imperfect inverse relationship. All right, so you're just defending ignorance because you're one of them. And again, you haven't nataled at a proper frequency, have you? Have you maintained human existence with your one child? Have you? Oh, obviously you haven't. So even though you're pro-natalist, you can't behave that way. Isn't that ironic? Anyway, I mean, fuck these people. Fuck these people. Fuck this version of I can't take any responsibility, even for the stuff I know exactly what the consequences are. I know the statistical facts, and I don't care. I like playing with dioxin. I like dumping it in the water. So there go. Too bad future. Fuck you, butterfly effect. I mean, this is just the ultimate cop-out. I don't want to take any responsibility. I'll call every bit of responsibility you try to impose on me. I'll talk about it like it's the most draconian horror that ever happened. Oh my, I have to take responsibility for creating human beings. For creating experiments, breeding animals even, putting sentient things in harm's way. I have to take responsibility for that. And that's a horror for you. I mean, just fuck you people. Fuck you people. I mean, you can't get what you deserve because nobody can be killed as horribly as you deserve. You suck so fucking bad. So fucking